Well, I mean, for me, the obvious one is the Joshua Tree by U2. I mean, that's my first concert was U2 in 1987 on that album. And at that time, the band was, we were, I think, seniors in high school, and we were thinking, okay, we're gonna, or juniors maybe, 87, I can't remember. But, hey, we're gonna do this band, man, we're gonna get serious. And I remember when I went to see them, I thought, it just cinched it for me. It was just like, that was it. I wanted to do the band full time and really go for it after that record. So these are all great. I love Thriller too. I can see why that's number one.
Wow, all incredible choices. I see Adele is here in the top 5 albums. She's such a phenomenal new star, even though she's been around now for several albums, but just an incredible talent. The guys from Pearl Jam are on here. But I'd go with Ed, and I'd have to agree that U2's Joshua Tree would easily make it to number 1 to me.
As much as we tried to cut our own, identity, and of course you do that as a band, and I think we achieved that. I think the spirit of U2, I think maybe even the way that we arrange the music emotionally, like to get to those big emotional spaces, that was definitely, we were emulating U2. Well, I mean, if you take a song like even off the Joshua Tree, you take songs like Where the Streets Have No Name, which start with the really emotional but just an organ beginning that build to these huge crescendos, like With or Without You, Lightning Crashes. They do that sort of quiet build to try to get to that big emotional space. So I think that definitely, my love for that album and for that band influenced, at least the way that we arranged some songs, so that we could try to get to that big feeling. I met them over the years, sometimes nice guys, and we met a lot of our heroes over the years. One of the fun parts of getting the success is that Bruce Springsteen mentioned us once in Rolling Stone. We're like, whoa, we had this whole from Bruce, and then people that you're not expecting, like Bruce Springsteen to John Bon Jovi is a big fan. You know what I mean?
Elton John, that's the one that blew me away.
Yeah.
We were staying in a hotel in, I think it was in Norway, and we walked in through the lobby, and I looked across the lobby, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Elton John just standing right there. And he beelined it right across the lobby, and he walked right up to me. He was like, Mental Jewelry. Great album. And he was like, that song Brothers Unaware is incredible. And I'm sitting there going, man, he doesn't even know the singles. He knows the B-sides in Inside and Out.
It's like Ellen DeGeneres. She's like, her favorite song's TBD. I'm like, man, you're listening to the whole album. That's cool.
Yeah, pretty amazing when that stuff happens, because those are obviously, artists that have inspired us. You always mention Peter Gabriel. That's probably the one that stands out. But, also, the band has had really cool support, like Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols used to go. We did a tour with PIL, both in America and in England, and he would hold a copy of Throwing Copper, the vinyl album up, and he would say, this band is the next Sex Pistols. And I would think, oh my God, is he insane? We weren't quite the Sex Pistols, but I finally got brave enough to ask him if the Sex Pistols would ever make another record, and he said, what, did we get something wrong on the first one?
That's good. That's great. Throwing Copper is now, it came out in 1994, so it's been around a really long time, and still really relevant songs on there to our fan base and just to radio in general all over. Still plays it, and people, have stayed in touch with that music. It still matters to them after all these years. I always say, there's always, if you say our average fans now are maybe 35 to 45, or, they've lived some life now, they're not kids anymore. They look back and say, oh, well, in the 90s, man, oh yeah, that band, I don't like that music anymore. I've grown up beyond that. Doesn't mean anything. With our music, with Live's music, these fans are like, hey man, songs from Throwing Copper still mean as much as they ever did to me, or sometimes even more, than before. So that's something we can be proud of. I feel the same way about my favorite bands from, like mentioned Joshua Tree, I still feel like I can listen to that record and it still matters to me profoundly, you know. I gotta tell the milk bag story. So we get to our first show in Holland, and we're outside Milkwagen, outside our van or whatever, and it's the afternoon. And Dutchman comes up and he says, "Hey, you're playing Milkweg tonight." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "The States." I said, "What's your band called?" I said, "It's called Live." He said, "Nobody's coming." And he walked away. And so every time we get on stage at like Pink Pop or in front of these big crowds here, I always think of that as we were walking on stage.
Nobody's coming.
Ah, somebody came.
Dit is Veronica.